Welcome back everyone. Guess what? The iPad Air 4 has actually been out for about a year now, so it's about 11 months, almost a year. So let's go and see how this tablet has been holding up the last year. Now what I can tell you is that this iPad is easily one of my favorite iPads of all time. You know, it's not a extremely overpriced iPad. It has a lot of capability. It's very beautiful, shares pretty much the same design as the iPad Pros, which is very interesting, and I still think it's worth it. Now if you want to pick up this iPad, I will leave a link down in the description. You can get that from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now on the front of this iPad, you do have that standard 10.9-inch panel. It's a liquid retina IPS panel. It's a very high resolution, which is good. There is no ProMotion, so no 120Hz, but it still looks good overall, and I think this panel is one of its strongest suits. Now you do have that power button that doubles as Touch ID, so this is very interesting. This is the only iPad without a home button that has Touch ID, which is very interesting. USB Type-C on the bottom. On the back, you have that metallic finish with that single camera setup. And the body of this thing still feels good. It still has held up extremely well. And body-wise, between this one and the other iPad Pros, the main difference on the outside obviously is the bigger design if you have it, the 12.9-inch model, but also that camera setup on the back. Now this one has that single 12-megapixel sensor, and it also has a 7-megapixel front-facing camera. Now the back camera of this thing is almost exactly like an iPhone XR camera. So it's a 12-megapixel single sensor, so we all know that. So 4K at 60, which is good. The front camera 1080p at 60, so this is almost exactly like the iPhone XR camera. This thing can take very good photos and very good videos, and overall, I mean, this is just a side effect of this iPad. I don't think anybody's going to buy this iPad because of the camera or anything, but it is actually a pretty good camera, so I'm, pretty happy about it. I think again, it's one of its advantages, and for this price tag for what this iPad brings, I'm actually fairly happy about it overall. So that's another pretty big advantage of this specific iPad as well. Now another thing that's held up extremely well on this iPad is the software. It came out with iPadOS 14. It's going to be supported for quite a bit of time. And I don't think anybody's going to purchase this iPad and feel like they're going to have an outdated piece of software anytime soon. Like I mentioned, it's extremely viable still. It's going to be supported for many more years. And because of the chipset this thing has, it technically still has the latest chips that Apple makes. So I'm pretty happy about it. I think it's going to be supported for a long time. But also the battery life of this iPad is extremely good as well. It's a 7,606 milliamp-hour battery. So that's a pretty big size battery. This thing isn't a crazy huge powerful device, but it also has, this thing isn't like overly spec'd out, so it's not going to use a lot of power or anything, but it also has a pretty optimized chipset for this specific software as well. So I'm pretty happy about the battery life, and I'm pretty happy about the software as well. Now finally, the performance of this iPad is still extremely good as well. Now we've gotten the M1 iPad since then, but I've compared the A14 Bionic chip that this thing has versus the M1 chip that the newer iPads have, and I didn't really see that crazy big of a difference. Like there is a little bit of a difference, but they're almost identical, to be completely honest. Now the performance of this thing is top tier. You're not going to feel like it's outdated. The only area where it may seem a little outdated is the 4 gigs of RAM. Maybe you would want something with a little bit more, but again, I don't really think that's that big of an issue, and overall I'm pretty happy about the performance. If you're a student or if you're somebody who just wants to write up documents and take notes, this thing supports the Apple Pencil too, but this thing can also handle, heavy performance. If you need to throw some, heavy tasks at it, this thing will be able to handle it. So I think the performance is another pretty big advantage of this specific iPad as well. So in terms of that pretty much covers it up. I think this iPad is still completely worth it even a year later. We will probably end up getting the iPad Air 5 either this September or maybe next year, but I think this iPad's going to hold up extremely well, and if you need an iPad, I would highly recommend it. So that's pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section as well. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.